Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel and podcast. We are back with a match preview. I'm Scott. I'm your host for this one. And this week, I'm joined by Joe, Harry, and Ian. Joe, how are you, my friend? Have you recovered from the weekend's antics?
Only just about, mate. Only just about. Now, hell of a weekend. Pity about the result, but these things happen. Now it was a fantastic weekend overall, and still recovering.
Yeah, I think we are all still recovering. So apologies to anyone who's listened to this on the audio, because there's be a few gravelly voices, I think, throughout this one. Harry, how was your weekend and how are you now?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Still, like I said, I haven't watched the highlights back. I haven't been able to bring myself to do that. The way I was explaining to my mates is it was like a perfect taste and pint, just with a London head, and that was the problem with it, unfortunately. But no, it was a fantastic weekend. But it's not the way we wanted. But we'll go again next year.
We do. Well, we'll go again next week. I mean, we've still got the rest of the league to play, so we'll focus on that before we worry about next year. Ian, how was the drive back? Did you enjoy the game?
Game, not so much. But if we are looking for a positive, I'm going to take a win in the fact that I navigated the London Underground system on my own. I'm happy about that. And the fact that I didn't get lost or abducted is a positive in my mind. The drive back. Stabbed. Or arrested or anything negative. So all positives. Shared a lovely Five Guys burger with yourself, Scott. And then the drive home was very somber. And I don't think I've caught up on my sleep since. But other than that, I'm in good spirits. How was your weekend, Scott?
Excellent. Really, really good. It was absolutely fantastic meeting everybody for the first time. Apart from Roger, who had already met, he'd already had the experience of meeting me in the past. But it was nice to meet everyone. The game, we got a good venue. You and I, Ian. Obviously, it wasn't as good as Wembley, but it was good enough. Met up with some members of the channel, I got back at midday on Monday, and I still haven't caught up with my sleep or recovered. So apologies if this one's a bit rough, as we said earlier. But before we get started, one thing I'm not forgetting to do is mention that the Gallowgateshots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle players, legends, and retro kits. Their website, as always, it's magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. So then, as I mentioned, this is a match preview. We are previewing the upcoming Man City away game. It's on Saturday, the 4th of March at 12:30 kickoff. And for you lovely folk in the UK, it is live on BT Sport. So no Jamie Carragher and no Gary Neville. Hip, hip, hooray. Hello, we might get, what's he called?
Robbie Savage.
Robbie Savage.
Does he still do it?
I
Steve
hope
McManaman?
I hope they'll finally get someone decent in. Probably be Steve McManaman. Anyways, Man City, Joe, obviously they're doing quite well. They're doing quite well in normal terms, but for Man City, you'd probably say they're not doing as well as they'd like. Second in the league on 55 points, 17 wins, 4 defeats, and 4 draws. But they do have, and I think this is a league high, plus 39 goal difference. And we'll talk about the reason why later on. I'm going to ask you a question I ask everyone, first of all, in these previews, and that is, what are your confidence levels going into this game?
Confidence levels are low. My big issue with looking back at last week's game, we refused to take shots. And when you refuse to take shots, you tend not to score many goals. I think with the last few games that we've had, there have been many deficiencies. Well, not many, but there have been a few deficiencies that are better to see. In that the same old tricks aren't working. Teams have figured out how to defend against us. We aren't quite. We're almost. I think in the All Smile Faces podcast on Monday, they spoke about us almost trying to walk the ball into the goal or try and score a really intricate, beautiful goal, and that's been a big problem for us since really the turn of the year. I don't understand why we're getting into these wide areas, doing really well, getting into some dangerous positions, but then refusing to cross the ball in. These are just kind of some of the few attacking problems which I'm hoping Eddie Howe looks at and makes changes for this game. Whilst I'm not too confident in getting a result, what I'm more interested in seeing is a positive change being put to the team, seeing what different players can do coming off the bench. I'm talking Gordon, Isak, just trying something different, something that we've not seen before. If we come away from this, maybe not with a win, maybe not with a draw, but with a positive change in those stats and that turnaround and play, I think I'll be happy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Iain. Obviously, last time around, the home fixture this season was an absolute spectacle, and I think the catalyst to our good run, we drew 3-3 with Man City, and at one point we were 3-1 up. Goals from Miggy Almiron of all people after the whole Jack Grealish comments. It kind of shut him up straight away, and I think put that to bed as well. And then we had Callum Wilson, and then who can forget that Kieran Trippier free kick. As Joe mentioned, we seem to be a bit goal shy at the moment. Are you expecting, a low scoring tie from our side against Man City?
From our side, yes. I think I've just gone through it in my head, and I might be wrong. Usually, I do my research, so I apologise if it's wrong. But I think since New Year, I don't think we've scored more than one in a game. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain it's literally just single goals that we've had. A few 0-0 draws, a few 1-1 draws. And it's very similar to what Joe was saying. I think they figured out we're triangle that we had between Trippier, Almiron, Bruno. They figured that out, whereas if you just show Almiron down the line, he's got to come back because he doesn't have a right foot. Similarly, when St. Maximum has played the last few games, I thought he's done quite well, but teams are always wise to this. Can see what he does. Maybe in the first half an hour, he'll cause bother, and then they'll just double, triple him up, and he's got no space to be creative. So it does look like there is a little bit of a block on sort of creativeness. Maybe it's a bit of timidness in just gambling and having a shot. I've seen Jacob Murphy on Sunday. He was the only one that looked to have a shot. Obviously, one I think just flew over, but one sort of he caught with the outside of his foot and it did trouble to hear, and it was very, very close actually. But I just think maybe his ideas have went a little bit stale, and because we don't have those big quality players, the likes of what Man City have, or Man U or Liverpool, who are sort of incidentally the three games that we've had in a short space of time, or will have in a short space of time. It is a bit of a concern that we're now not creating as many chances. And I think we'll maybe touch on it as well, but it doesn't help not creating chances. Even when we haven't got a striker at the minute that is scoring goals. I think Wilson's now 1 in 10, 1 in 11, possibly more, which again is a concern. But I don't want to be negative. I want to try and remain positive. But going to their place, the form that we're in and how good they are is a bit of a concern.
Yeah, it is a concern, Harry. And usually you'll find in these sort of games that the first goal is absolutely key. Man City tend to score quite early against us. Normally within the first 10 minutes. It has been in games in the past. Do you think the longer we can contain them from scoring that first goal, or if we can contain them all game, obviously that would be fantastic. But do you think the longer we can go without conceding that first goal against Man City, the more of a chance we have to nick something from this one?
I think that's the best thing. You can't say what the confidence levels would be like within the squad. I imagine they're going to be downbeat, and what you don't want is heads dropping so early on. I think I'll back up exactly what the lads have just said. Ideas have run dry, and I've been screaming about it for weeks, and I know Decker does as well. A lot of people do about that isolated striker, and it was more and more obvious until we brought on Isaac to help Wilson out. Kind of, I suppose, if they were to score early, I do think it would be a battering. And I don't like to say that because yes, we used to rave about the best defence in the league, but that's slowly falling away now. And we're conceding goals and conceding cheap goals from mistakes. But in terms of the first goal, it'd be great if we got it. If we decide to change it up a little bit and give them something to think about, then hopefully we can do that. But I think changes have to be made within the squad. And I think a lot of people know what those changes are. But you've also got to remember, I mean, I criticised Wilson at the weekend. Yes, he was isolated, didn't have much to do. And Joe was talking about that pretty goal. But he's played for us under Steve Bruce. He played at Bournemouth and they didn't have the quality in the squad to score those pretty goals. Just gamble, exactly like we've just said. If we gamble, get it in the box and just swing a foot at it. Because we need to stop playing this ball where we'll go out wide and Trippier decides to put his foot on the ball and then doesn't cross it in. But going back to your original point after my little tangent, yes, if they don't score first, we may have a chance to do something in that game, but confidence levels aren't too high. Apart from me, Bruno Goaty. I brought the Bruno Goaty back because after I decided to have a chin strap, it didn't really work. So I brought the Bruno Goaty back. So Howie, as long as he's not
You dyeing your hair blonde, mate?
I was going to if the one. I actually was going to if the one. However, the receding hairline would have said no, and I think the hair would have just gone and just disappeared into the atmosphere.
Well, you've mentioned about a couple of you mentioned about the walking the ball into the net and the maybe he's trying to be too intricate with how we're doing. That's kind of how Man City play. They'll go down the left, they'll try it. If it doesn't work, they'll bring it right back and they'll go down the right and they'll bring it back and they'll go down the middle. I think there was a great video doing the rounds of John Motson talking to Pep Guardiola about it and just how he was idolizing it. And rest in peace of John Motson, by the way. That was devastating news before the weekend as well. Harry, I'll stick with you about this kind of walking the ball in. Is it just a lack of quality that we maybe don't have to play like that? But do you think it's also how wanting the boys to play like that for when the quality arrives?
We seem to be too stubborn, is what I think it is. I think you can see we've put quality into the squad. Yes, there's players that aren't the quality that we're going to want to be at within the next year or even 2 years, depending if we get Europe this year. I don't know if it's a quality issue. I just think it's too stubborn with the same ideas. There is times that you do see. I mean, you see the subs that were brought on. There weren't quality subs in a final at Wembley. Really, if we're going to be brutally honest. I think Isaac showed a bit of quality when he came on, and I think he's screaming for a start. He just did a lot with the ball. He did this turn about 4 times where he didn't touch the ball and just body fainted and takes 2 players out of the game. And that little bit of quality could just create a moment, could create a bit of space where we can just put the ball in. And if like that was Miggy scored, when he just runs through, was it against Southampton with Bruno? He just runs through and just slots it in. Those spaces can be created if we try something new. But we'll have to see that happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, Man City like to play 3 at the back when they're not playing with Kyle Walker and I can't remember the other winger that they use now. I can't remember his name. So they tend to go for more 3 at the back and they rely on Mahrez. And God, I can't remember the other person's name either. This is good, isn't it? I did finally did my research and I can't remember them.
So would you like to know? I've got the team in front of me. You can't you?
So the team at the beginning, they had Mahrez on the right, and who's there on the left?
Bernardo?
Grealish,
was Bernardo or Grealish, wasn't it?
Grealish and Foden.
Yeah, they're playing Bernardo Silva. They've been playing Bernardo Silva left back, haven't they? Over recent weeks. Strangely, like left wing back. But no, I think it was Grealish that started out on the wing. He's looking like a man in form as well, unfortunately, just in time.
But it's kind of like how we do it, though, isn't it? With a hybrid where it's not really a 4 at the back or a 5 at the back. It's predominantly 3 centre backs with cover, and you've got your two. I think they play Calvin Phillips and Silver in a pair of kind of holding defensive central midfielders. If we were to change it up, Joe, and just maybe change our formation a little bit, and I know there's been people calling of maybe going with a front four as opposed to a front three, and leaving two men in the middle as a midfield. Is that something maybe we could use to hurt Man City? You know, if you play maybe Isak behind Callum Wilson, kind of like what he did at the weekend, and then have maybe either Maxi and Miggy, or Maxi and Gordon, or Gordon and Miggy on the wings. There's a lot of pace there. There's a lot of skill there. Could that be something that can maybe cause Man City some upset?
You can certainly do that. When we've spoken about Isak's drives in the runs that he was making at the weekend, and yeah, he was coming from quite deep, but then he was driving into that space the same way that Maxi was doing it, and it was an absolute breath of fresh air. Even Jacob Murphy was doing it when he was coming on, and you think, we know that Isak really isn't a low number 9 that is going to thrive up top by himself. He really does need that support network. It's interesting to think about what could be done if you had Wilson in front of him making those runs, hopefully into some space. How many times have we said, even Harry just said it before, Wilson's isolated. He's been isolated for so long. He's trying to hold the ball up almost like an Andy Carroll type half the time. But obviously, he's, for his stature, he does it well. But, he's not that player. He's not really that target man. That's not the kind of football that we want to play, that we're trying to play. Putting Isak as a number 10, we haven't really seen too much of it. We did see it against Fulham, and for a very brief moment of time, and that worked. That worked really well. And yeah, we drove our players hard. Gordon in Alan St-Maximin, I believe, had some really good link-up play as well. These are the kind of changes that we need to look to make in order just to freshen things up a bit. If you're going to keep 3 midfield, you've got to think about where the creativity is going to come from. Joe Willock, he's obviously come back from injury, and he's one of those players that does like to make those strong driving runs, especially from the left-hand side. But then, where do you play Joe Linton? Do you keep him on the left because he's been very good, or do you put him out on the right-hand side and maybe drop Sean Longstaff? For me personally, I might get crucified for saying this, but Scott, you've been saying it for a little bit of time. I think maybe dropping Miggy and perhaps playing Gordon out on the right, or even playing Maximin on the right and Gordon on the left could be something to look at. Even just to give Miggy a bit of a rest. We've seen that he's really struggling on that byline, cutting on the left-hand side. It's not doing the same. It's not having the same success that we've seen in the past. These are the kind of things that Eddie Howe needs to look at. And to be honest, I know that we've spoken about him being a little bit stubborn with his system. And to be fair, I think that does come down to some loyalty that has worked for the most part this season. Looking at his comments though, after the loss, saying that he's going to do everything he can to improve Newcastle, and he's going to be relentless. You've got to think that now is the time. Now has to be the corner that we turn to really reignite this season and to push on for Champions League spots, and that needs to come with a few changes. Yeah,
and you'd like to think, I know I hate to use the term that this is a free hit in terms of a game because it's Man City. We used to say that a lot last season when we played some of the better teams, and I still don't agree with it. But if you're going to make a change and get at least the team to play like that for a long period of time, this could be one of the best games to do it when, you think, well, if we lose, that's what pretty much everybody was expecting, apart from, obviously Eddie Howe and the team. But if it comes off, then we've got something to build on for the next few games and we'll catch teams out. It's funny you mentioned Gordon there, Joe, and I'll come to you on this one, Iain. I had a funny feeling that Eddie Howe was reluctant to start Anthony Gordon because there was a final coming up that Gordon couldn't play in. And Eddie Howe was wanting to play his cup-ready players as much as possible together to get them, to try and gel. Do you think now that cup's out of the way, we're more likely to see Anthony Gordon get a start in the team or get at least more minutes than what he has been?
Good question. I think if you look on it based on players' performance, I think there's a very strong case for Gordon starting. Like you touched on, I think Miggy, he's had that purple patch coming back from the World Cup. It's maybe, to be honest, been the worst thing for her because it's kind of killed all momentum that we've had. It could be a case of, as well, teams have had that 8-week period to maybe do a little bit of research on other teams in the Premier League and figure out how we'll play. I just think, like I say, I think ideas have dried up, and I think players maybe are getting not disheartened, but just because of the recent run of results, maybe he's lacking in confidence, even though we went on that run of 17 games unbeaten. So it's the same players. It just might be a little bit of a different mindset because they say we've won, one in 7, 8 now. I think, like I say, given players' performances that have started, I think there is a case of people coming in and sort of the being changes there. Looking at how Eddie Howe has sort of blooded in new signings, it's always been sort of 20 minutes here and there, 15 minutes here and there. So it wouldn't surprise us if he sticks with the same team, but I do think we need to try something new. Like you said, it's like I'm not a big fan of using the free hit, but you've kind of got nothing to lose against Man City. I think realistically going there would be a difficult game, even if we're sort of on form. So because of the recent results, I think it is maybe it's time to try a new idea. If it doesn't work, it's probably the result people were expecting. And like you say, if it does work, then it could be the catalyst to then kickstart the second half of the season.
Well, we'll touch on some good news, Harry, and that is that Nick Pope is back. It was only a 1-match ban. A lot of people think that it was a 2 or a 3, but there was no dissent and it was non-violent, so it is only a 1-match ban for that straight red that he got. So you'd expect him to come straight back into the squad, which is great news. But Karius at the weekend didn't do himself, he didn't cause himself any issues in terms of keeping a place in the team. Would it be harsh if he just disappeared from the squad and Dubravka comes back in and starts on the bench?
I think it would be. I don't think you can put that much pressure on a player, especially a keeper, in a final that hasn't played for a long, long time. And the last time he played in a final, I think we all know what happened. He didn't do himself any harm at the weekend. I think when you freeze frame the Sven Botman own goal, it looks horrendous. But that's because, I'm not a goalkeeper. We should be asking Bestie here. But as soon as the ball moves, the keeper's reactions are that fast. They position themselves and expect where the ball's going to go. So he didn't do himself any harm. I like his distribution in terms of the speed that he was getting rid of it. His kicking was a bit dodgy. He was not composed on the ball. He just boot it and kind of hope. But in terms of him getting it out and us going up the pitch, that's what I like from a keeper. It's a tough one. I think it's something that's going to definitely have to be looked at in the summer as well, though, because you've got 3 keepers there. Well, you've got 4 keepers, if we're including Mark Gillespie. But it's a strange one. I think Dubravka's the one that's most likely to get a move. In Karius stays our second keeper, and I don't think any parties can have a complaint on that, complain about that, because Dubravka's had his time at the club and he's been fantastic. We all remember his debut against Man United of all people, and unfortunately Karius didn't have a debut like that. But like I've just said, he's done nothing wrong. So it would be harsh, and I think we all know it's probably going to get looked at in the summer of how we operate.
Absolutely. So we're not gonna do a full starting 11 lineup prediction like we normally do, and that's because Chris is going to do a separate video with his starting 11 prediction. So we'll see what he decides in that one, and that'll be coming later on this week. But we are going to do predictions as we always do. I don't think anyone's getting the one right apart from you, Harry. I think you predicted Liverpool beating with 2-0. So let's come to you first, mate. And what's your predictions for this one?
Well, I'll definitely be putting a tenner on this prediction. No, I'll never ever bet against Newcastle. But who's to say that we'll lose? I do think my head says we'll get a hump and my heart says a 1-1, and I'm going to stick with a 1-1. There could be some fight left, and I think you saw the emotion in the players. That doesn't just disappear. That'll be in training, that'll be within Eddie, that'll be in the change room, the dressing room, wherever they are. It's home. Like, you all seen the flowers that partners got sent, family got sent for that final. It's a great way of almost, I know it's about that kind of like healthy work-life balance, but it's a great way of bringing the love of the club into the household as well. It's not just a job for your husband, it's not just a job for your partner. So if we're going with a bit of fight, a bit of passion, and I know you said we're not going to do a prediction on the team, but a few changes I'd like to see. I'm just going to throw a dodgy one in there, and I wouldn't mind to see Matt Targett play left back. Just to change it up, I think, just like Iain was saying, it's not a free hit, but it's a brilliant time to kind of experiment and give new players a go and get Gordon a start as well. So I'll stick with a 1-1. It's me, Bruno Gordy, sending out positive vibes to everyone watching. 1-1, and I'll be sticking a tenner on it. Why not?
Excellent. And if you are going to gamble, make sure you gamble responsibly. Even
That's
I can't even
true.
say the word, but make sure you do it. Joe, mate, what is your predictions for this one?
Oh, I wish I could be as positive this week. Normally I am, and if we got a draw out of this, I'd be over the moon. I hark back to what I said at the start, whereby I'm not so bothered about the result as much as I'm seeing about a change in style and improvement on the issues that we've seen. What I'm predicting for how the game will go, I think we'll see much of the same as we did in the first half against Man United, but then I think that's when but then the second half, I think we'll start seeing some changes being implemented. So I don't think it'll be a crazy Pep thing where he'll just chuck in loads of players straight away, but I think there may be maybe some experimentation that's slowly introduced later in the game. Having said that, the Man City are on a really, really hot streak with scoring, and I can't see us keeping them quiet. We couldn't even keep them quiet at home. We drew 3-3, obviously, but I'm going to go for a 3-1 loss this time. And I think that's the first time I've actually predicted us to lose on the channel so far. But just given the form and everything, I think it's probably going to be another loss. However, like I say, I'm more interested in seeing a change in style and some positivity in that respect. So, hopefully I'm wrong.
Absolutely. Hopefully you are wrong. I would hate to see a 3-1 defeat. Iain, you haven't changed your batteries in your clock, even though we've been defeated. I do see a battery in that jug over your shoulder as well. So you've got no excuse. There you are.
Fucking eyesight's good.
Little pixelated battery there. If we win, you've got to put batteries in that clock, by the way, because the streak's over. But what are your predictions, my friend?
I think it's probably harder to be as positive going into this one. Again, given what Joe was saying, they are scoring a few goals at the minute. Although against Forest, they not drew blank, but they only managed to score one and conceded later on. I think, though, given how we are, if we are going to play the same, I can't see us creating many chances, hitting the target a lot. I mean, we've only had 2 in the game on Sunday. So I'm probably going to go with the same as Joe. I think 3-1 will get beat. You look at the likes of who they have to bring off the bench, very similar to Man U, where they were bringing the likes of Jadon Sancho, Sabitzer from the bench. Man City have probably got arguably a deeper squad, whereas we will have to maybe rely on the likes of Matt Ritchie again. Although I thought it was nice him getting a little stint in a cup final. It was a nice way to sort of thank him for his service. But I think 3-1, and that's being optimistic as I can be, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we've got 1 draw and 2 defeats, 2 big defeats from yous two. So I'm going to give you mine. I think the defeat at the weekend might light a fire under the belly of these players. And I think Eddie Howe will be working on them. You would have seen that we only had 2 shots on target, and I think he'd be working on this. I'm not going to say we're going to win this game because I don't think we will. But I'm with Harry. I think like we mentioned earlier, the longer we can hold Man City to not scoring that first goal, the longer they get agitated and frustrated, and we've seen it in the past. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw as well. I think we'll nick one first. It won't be, till maybe it's end of first half, beginning of the second half. But then I think Man City will just have the quality to get one back. Although who knows, it could be a Nick Pope redemption and his apology for the final for missing it, and he'll keep a clean sheet. We'll see what happens. But no, I do think it'll be 1-1 going into this one. So yeah. Does anybody have anything that they want to add?
Yes,
there you go.
Please. I'd like to point out that this is also arguably the first time we've been in this position as a team under Eddie Howe. We only had that 3-loss streak in, I think it was April time. But by then we were looking to be fairly comfortably safe. Yeah. And now we've been on this prolonged run where we're seeing consistent issues, across various parts of the field. Now is a really intriguing time to see just how much Eddie Howe is willing to, like we say, experiment, to change things up, to be ruthless, to be relentless, as he says. If he's come out and said that, now is the time to walk the walk, and I hope that he follows through on that. And it might be one of those things that comes over the next 2-3 weeks, but hopefully we see a big change on Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see, and we'll find out on Saturday. Thanks everybody for your time. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Iain. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for watching. If you do like this sort of content, we've got loads of stuff coming up this week, and stuff already going out today and in the past couple of days. We've got a vlog of all things from Roger. He documented his trip to Wembley, right from getting his ticket all the way to getting his kebab right at the very end of it. So if you haven't watched that one, it's a good little watch. We've also got the Always Smiling Faces podcast, which was on Monday. And like I said, Chris is doing a couple of videos this week as well. He's doing a lineup prediction that I know of, and whatever else he has hidden under his cap. That'll be coming out in video format. But if you like this sort of stuff and you want to know when we post new content, you can scroll down from this video and hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up or thumbs down if you've liked or disliked this video. That helps feed the algorithm and get this video in the hands and feeds of other Newcastle United, and it'll be Man City fans this week in their feeds as well. And if you want to, like I said, know when the new videos go live, hit the little notification bell, and that will get you a little pop-up on the screen of whatever it is you watch YouTube on, letting you know when we have new content. If you want to go one step further, there is a membership program. As always, it's $2.99 a month, and that gets you early access to all of these new videos that are coming out, as well as access to the Telegram group. And when we get to our next cup final, it'll also give you access to meeting some of us. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you do want to do that. It was nice to meet some of the members at the weekend. It was nice to meet some of the non-members at the weekend as well. We had a few people come up with us in the bar and just saying hello, which was nice. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Hopefully it won't be too bad of a defeat, and we'll not get the two predictions from the boys on the right. But we'll see what happens. We'll go into this one, hopefully with a spring in our step after what happened at the weekend, and we'll see what we can do. Thanks everybody. See you in the next one.
Well, lads.